Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, and in this RedGamingTech.com video, we're going to be discussing, as well as analysing, tech news, which as usual, has popped up the past 24 or so hours. Hopefully, you're having an amazing day. We have a ton of stuff to get through in today's video, and unlike traditionally where I go through things alphabetically, today we're going to begin with PlayStation and then some Xbox stuff because, quite frankly, the bulk of the video is going to be eaten up by tons of Nvidia news. The first thing I'd like to get to is Ubisoft, as the company essentially confirmed on the support website that the PlayStation 5 is not backwardly compatible with the PS3, PS2, and finally PS1. They basically said on there that it supported PlayStation 4 titles, but it would be not possible to play PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, or PlayStation games. And now that statement has been nuked from the support website. So you can look at this of one of two ways. You can look at it that Ubisoft confirmed that the PlayStation 5 is not capable of playing, say, PS2 games, or you can look at it that Ubisoft made a mistake and they had to retract it because they made a mistake. As of the time I'm recording this, Sony are yet to confirm one way or the other, and Ubisoft, of course, well, they've removed the statement rather sheepishly, and don't wish to comment on the matter, because no matter which way it is, they probably are not, well, they're probably not having hugs from Sony at this point. If I'm really honest with you, I'm highly skeptical that the PlayStation 5 is compatible with PS2, PS3 and PS1 games. And it's not because the console is incapable of doing it. The PS1 literally has had emulators available since like the late 90s on the PC. And also the same thing for the N64, of course, with a couple of really awesome emulators which really started to become popular in the late 90s and early 2000s, where there was an awful lot of development for the emulation scene. PS1 games, well, yeah, I mean, you could run them on like a Pentium 3 absolutely flawlessly. In fact, you didn't even need a Pentium 3, like a decent Pentium 2 would be fine. And nowadays, you can run like a PS2 game, PS3 game at 4K on a fairly modest system. I was actually testing recently Silent Hill Downpour. This is like in my own times, it's not a video. But just for lols, I was testing Silent Hill Downpour on a fairly modest system. It's a little bit older, it's an i7 4770K. I've got much faster systems, but I was just kind of curious what a CPU, which is nowhere near modern, was capable of doing, and I paired that with a GTX 1080, and it was playing like Silent Hill. I can't remember the resolution now. It was like either 1440p or 4K. I don't want to lie, I don't want to say which one it was, I can't remember, because it was a couple of months ago I tried this now. And again, this is on a GTX 1080, and it was playing perfectly. A few frame drops here and there, but, you know, nothing too bad. And I wasn't spending exactly a ton of time tweaking this, and it played better, or at least looked as good, minimum, than the Silent Hill Downpour that I have on my PlayStation 3, because I do own it. But the bottom line is, Sony could do this, so it seems to be more of a business decision with Sony, because if they did create an emulator, like PS1 and PS2 emulators wouldn't be too bad. PS3 emulation could be a bit hit and miss. I suspect that some titles wouldn't be perfect. And Sony have made it clear that the majority of the PlayStation 4 titles, there's about 4,000 of them, will work on the PlayStation 5, but Sony has also said that the most popular PlayStation 4 games, the 100 of them, this is by the way ranked by playtime, would be available, would run when the console arrives. So it seems to be a business decision. This is not confirmed that Sony will not support this, but it's honestly looking rather sketchy that they will. I don't mind 100%, honestly, as a PC gamer. Like, it's fine, I can emulate one way or the other. I know some people hate emulation, I totally get it. I think it's much nicer to play with original hardware in many instances, but it's also a pain in the ass having like a PlayStation 1 or like a PlayStation 2 setup, a PlayStation 3 setup, and a PlayStation 5 setup. So it kind of depends on your, living room and like what you've got available and space and stuff like that. But if you're space constrained, having several consoles all set up can be a little bit awkward. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Anyway, the next next part of the video is Xbox, because Microsoft have confirmed that at the Tokyo Games Show, which of course is going to be online, it's going to be taking place from the 24th to the 28th. Microsoft have said that there won't be any new Xbox Series X news. Instead, the game show will be a celebration of Japanese game creators. There will be updates to Flight Simulator on the PC and Windows 10 as well as Steam. Obviously, it's not available on the Xbox yet. There will be a push for the creativity of the Minecraft creator community, and there will also be of some type of, they're using the term a review of first and third-party announcement from the recent months, which, I don't know, it's not exactly super duper exciting. Microsoft have confirmed that they are aware that people just at this point want next generation news. With the UK, I do stress it's the UK marketing lead, as well as Xbox on host, Samuel Bateman. They made a comment on Twitter, so it's not through the company itself, but obviously, they have a fairly good understanding. That is, Sam has a fairly good understanding of what's going on at Microsoft. He says that he knows everyone's excited to know what the price and, release dates are and stuff like that, but they're just not ready yet. And I think we can all agree that it's all but certain at this point that both Sony as well as Microsoft will launch early to mid-November. The rumour is that the PlayStation 5 will launch on the 13th, although as I covered just yesterday, it seems like that may not be in all parts of the world. There seems to be some regions, possibly Japan, which is perhaps more puzzling, but also the UK, as well as most of Europe, Australia and so on, may actually have a staggered release date. And I did also mention that I was told a release date for the UK, but I'm not sure if it's true. You could check yesterday's video out if you want that information. But long story short, everyone understands that there's frustration at the moment. I kind of feel that Microsoft, as well as Sony, are in a who is going to blink first situation, which, God, I mean, at this rate, we're going to be like 5 minutes before launch. It's kind of getting ridiculous. I just really want the announcement. There's been so many leaks onto the price and all of this stuff, but nothing official. And it's possible that they are still trying to kind of decide whether they're going to shift the price up or down. All we can do, unfortunately, is wait. And now we're going to move over to a whole bunch of Nvidia news. There is a ton of it. The first thing I'd really like to tackle is other cards which we are almost certain exist. Now obviously Jensen confirmed the 3070, 80 and finally 90, although during the conference he did verbally acknowledge that these are the first cards that they're going to be launching. And we know for certainty that there's going to be a 3050, there's going to be a 3060. Not only because Nvidia have done it a ton of times in the past, but also there's such a market for cards which cost, let's say, $300. And given the performance of Ampere, it's fair to say that even the 3060 is going to be a very impressive card. Like the 3060, legitimately, I don't know the specs of it, but legitimately you can argue that it's going to be capable of 1440p at high refresh rates. And I think a card like the 3060, combined with a CPU such as the 3600 from AMD, would be a really nice, budget-focused build. But anyway, I'm kind of getting slightly off topic here. Getting back to what we're actually supposed to be reporting. So there are two new cards which have been kind of leaked via Lenovo. Now it's imperative to realise that Lenovo previously mentioned the GTX 1180. They listed that, but, you know, there's no such thing as a GTX 11. To be fair to to be fair to Lenovo, the naming scheme at that time was up in the air, so it's possible that they just kind of guesstimated what Nvidia would end up calling it. The bottom line is, though, that both an RTX 3070 Super and an RTX 3070 Ti have been spotted. And this is really interesting because the 3070 Super, okay, this is where things get a bit weird. The 3070 Super has 8GB of memory, but the Ti has 16GB of memory. Unfortunately, we don't have an in-depth drill down as to the specifications. The Lenovo products that these are listed in are the Legion products, which is the T5 and T7 respectively. Again, we do not know the specs of these GPUs, only that they, well, almost certainly exist. And I'm hearing that there's also a 3080 20GB model as well, but again, does it have any difference in specs compared to the 10GB, or is it just that the memory density is, well, more? We also can be fairly certain that there's another SKU as well, which would be the 3080 Ti, we assume, which you can probably guess is going to be between the number of CUDA cores of the 3090 and the 3080, possibly with more RAM. But maybe they don't need to do that. Maybe that is actually the 20GB model, because the number of CUDA cores, as you know, you can see on the specs here, the specs of the 3090 and 3080 are kind of close to one another. So maybe Nvidia feel that they don't need a 3080 Ti, so instead the 20GB is the 3080 Ti. Or maybe the Ti, or they're just going to call it a Super, is the 20GB model, just with a few additional CUDA cores. It's kind of confusing, honestly, and we don't clearly know what the performance is. We do know, though, that Nvidia are being very aggressive with the pricing here, and also Nvidia are pushing a ton of features. Another thing that I find quite interesting from the Nvidia side as well is that there is a push for the Unreal Engine 4. And of course, this is a joint kind of reveal from Epic as well as Nvidia themselves. And this will be available for developers later this month. So it's not quite available yet if you're a games developer, but not too long into the future. And this is going to be a new DLSS mode. And this means that you've got several options. So there's a new ultra performance mode. I'm going to read this verbatim. Deliver unprecedented visual clarity with DLSS. When paired with a 3090, DLSS enables the creation of 8K game content. And then there's also improved VR support, which is 2880 by 1600, and this is 90 FPS. This is, of course, DLSS, so this means, of course, that running a VR headset isn't quite so expensive in terms of the GPU that you need, because VR, one of the drawbacks of it, not only do you need a high-end headset ideally, but you also need a decent GPU. So obviously if you can run experiences with DLSS and kind of reduce that need, then obviously that would be a good thing. Furthermore, there's apparently support for dynamic resolution. The input buffer can change dimensions from frame to frame, while the output buffer remains fixed. If the rendering engine supports dynamic resolution, DLSS can be used to perform the required upscale to the display resolution. So this is basically the idea of being able to render the game depending on the frame. It could be like, this is a very extreme example, but one frame could be rendered at, let's say, 1080p, another frame could be rendered at 1440p. The reality is it's not very likely there's going to be such a big gulf in resolution, but either way, that could then be upsampled to, let's say, 4K, and that's really cool. At least in my opinion, so I'm very interested to see what Nvidia does there. While we're on the subject of cards and availability of them, there is an interesting report from Anthony over at Tweaktown. I cannot independently verify this information, but according to what he's learned, there is a possibility that stock could be scarce until the end of the year. So according to Anthony, and I'm going to read this verbatim, but in one story I wanted to sit down and make sure I wrote, there was from an industry source who told me that the post-launch there will be no stock will be available to the end of the year, with the first wave of cards said to be very small, possibly the smallest launch in many years. Another said that I wanted to flesh it out before I write it. I was been told that stock will be extremely low because Samsung's 8nm yields were unknown at this point, and Nvidia did not want to take too many on before the yields improve. Although apparently the yields have been decent, so we should start to see more. I will stress though that this is not confirmed, so it's possible that we will actually see quite high numbers of availability for the RTX 30 series, but again, I'm just reporting what Anthony says. And in the tiniest piece of Nvidia news ever, but might as well throw it in here because, well, you know, discussing all the RTX 30 stuff anyway, there is also going to be a free game which is provided to you if you pick up the RTX 30 series, and that is Watch Dogs Legion. I have to say that I'm not 100% sold on this game, honestly. I was kind of not that certain about the ability to essentially be anyone, in air quotes, but I have to say that as a title which shows off hardware-based ray tracing and tech, it looks kind of cool. I suspect it's going to be one of those games I'd mess around with for a while but maybe not finish. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. It could be the best game ever. But you will be receiving that along with 1 year of GeForce Now Founders subscription. GeForce Now Founders works on a plethora of different systems, including now Chromebooks as well, and obviously this allows you to stream games essentially from the cloud. It's pretty damn cool. I don't like how some games developers, I won't name names because we all know who they are, have been limiting the ability to play certain titles on GeForce Now, considering essentially you're just using a cloud-based service for games that you've already purchased. I think that's kind of crappy, and I don't like that at all because I think Nvidia's GeForce Now actually was done awesomely. I think that they had a really good subscription model. I think it was much better than what we had with Google Stadia. That's my personal opinion. You know, you're just paying essentially for the ability to play games in the cloud, and whatever games you play, you know, they're basically on a Steam library. So if you've already bought a game, well, you should just be able to play it, at least in my opinion. But anyway, I think Nvidia are apparently now working better with games developers. But bottom line though, these bundles will start to go live as of the release of the first cards, like the 3080, and it's going to be a month and a half essentially promotion. It ends late October, and you will be also able to play the game on October the 29th. So that's obviously the launch, and you've only got you've got like a month to redeem the code. But with all of that said, thank you very much for watching the video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. The normal stuff, like, share, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.